Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
We're back, and it's Open Line Friday. So you get to call in and join the conversation. Weigh in on this. Well, I guess we have Israel and Iran trading blows. I guess that shouldn't come as any big surprise. So a lot of people talking about that. We can talk about the upcoming military parade tomorrow. We can talk about the upcoming G7 summit. We can talk about anything pretty much you want. If you really want to talk about those crazy ostriches, we can do that tonight too. Yeah, it's kind of a free-for-all Friday, Open Line Friday. So get your dialing fingers ready, and I'll get the phones set up, and you can help carry this broadcast through as we dig into the top news stories of the day right here on Maverick News. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, so you can join the program. Here's the number. I'll put it up on the bottom of the screen. There it is again, 1-647-734-4220. And then when prompted by the system, you have to punch in that code 860-075-764, followed by the pound number, the pound sign. And that will get you into the broadcast. So where are we at tonight with this situation in the Middle East? Oh, we have a caller calling in already. Somebody joining us on the line. Let's get him up on the screen. I don't know who it is. I didn't even have time to get into the first story. We've got an eager beaver. There we go. Who's on the line?
Well, how could you not have your dragon already on your line, my sir? How are you?
I'm fine, Mr. Dragon out of Montreal. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, actually. Even with about 4 hours sleep, I'm still good.
Yeah.
Fresh and popping.
Too much in your head? Too much stress? Too many crazy news stories in this mad world that we're living in? Little insomnia bothering you?
Well, I was doing a lot of research for you and basically for everyone about the ostriches and whatnot. And,
ostriches right off the top of the program. Everybody wants to talk about those crazy birds. But I didn't want it to go there,
actually, because I'll be honest with you. For tonight, I will let the bird goes and let them free, and I'll go for, well, what's going on tonight with Israel and Iran? Because There's a lot to unpack here.
Well, sir, I can tell you that the Middle East is reeling tonight as tensions between Israel and Iran have erupted into it's a dangerous new phase of conflict marked by unprecedented military strikes and retaliatory attacks. Early this morning, Israel launched a large scale military operation dubbed Operation Rising Lion, targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, missile production sites, and senior military leadership. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has he announced the strike, stating they were a critical move to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Preemptive
Yep.
strike. So, according to various media reports, the Israeli assaulted dozens of targets, including an above ground nuclear enrichment plant near Natanz, killing several top Iranian military commanders and nuclear scientists, confirmed. In fact, I saw that last night, so that was confirmed some time ago. Now, among those reported dead is Amir Ali Hajizadeh, head of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Aerospace Forces, a significant blow to Iran's military structure. What are you hearing and seeing on the streets of Montreal there, Dragon? Are a lot of people talking about this? Is it a point of concern tonight?
Well, I can tell you that there's a lot of protest, as you know. Pro-Palestinian probably having done some protest about that. So I wouldn't be surprised that there's probably some uprising in the street, probably not to the point where there's violence or vandalism and stuff like that. But never know. Probably things going to go up the chart at some point. I fear.
Well, I hope not. I hope that we, whatever happens here in terms of protests, remains peaceful. And it's all this stuff is escalating. I think I have some video here that I can show people. I know that everyone is, the U.S. is saying they weren't involved, but at the same time, we are seeing that President Trump has confirmed that he was advised in advance. What do you think of that?
It's possible. I know that Trump has stated that he didn't know about it, and basically, I don't know. It's probably a strategic move from Trump not to say so, but yeah, I think it's a crazy situation where, it's not only an escalation, but I think it's a sort of a Rubicon where we have just put ourselves into.
If anybody else wants to call in tonight, the number again is 1-647-734-4220. Punch in the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Trump did post this on social media, so I'll share that with you. He says, I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all.
Yeah. So basically, it was targeted and really precise, I will say.
Yeah, so the Israeli military did employ a sophisticated combination of warplanes, drones smuggled into Iran, and precision weapons positioned near key targets. We actually saw that same sort of strategy employed by Ukraine when they just attacked deep inside Russia, hitting those airfields, smuggling drones in trucks, and then releasing them remotely. So, a base used for launching explosive drones was reportedly activated to strike missile launchers near Tehran, with smoke seen rising from Tabriz airport following the attacks. Israel's strikes were described as the culmination of years of intelligence operations aimed at degrading Iran's nuclear and military capabilities. And we've seen Iran respond swiftly and forcefully. And Tehran has launched hundreds of ballistic missiles targeting Israel. They did that right away with explosions reported over Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. The Israeli military activated its Iron Dome defense system, intercepting many of the incoming missiles, but at least 7 sites around Tel Aviv have been hit, injuring dozens. And Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, vowed severe punishment, calling the Israeli attack a declaration of war. Iran's state media has reported that over 70 people were killed and more than 320 injured in Israel's initial strike, though these figures remain unverified at this point. I think we can get you some video of some of what has been going on over there. Just give me a moment and we can do a bit of a scroll here through some of the most recent video clips from the Middle East tonight. Okay. So I need to take that down and we're going to put up this. Here we go.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
See what the video clips are about. That's Israel intercepting Iranian ballistic missiles as they come down. That is not Star Wars. That's an AI thing. And
offensively involved in this
Charlie
war.
Kirk
Here,
on Fox
I think
News.
overwhelmingly Americans stand with Israel. The question is, do they support America getting offensively involved in this war? And I can say definitively, especially with younger Trump supporters, the answer is no. They want to have Israel fight Israel's war, to stand with Israel, intelligence sharing, defensive measures, totally defensible, and I think is legitimate because over 100,000 Americans, as Trey said, are in Israel. And America and Jordan have a long history of having defensive measures to protect civilians. But the question will be in the coming days and weeks, will there be clamoring for an offensive American strategy against Iran? Will some people say, hey, we can finally wipe them out. We have them on the ropes. I would introduce a little bit of caution towards that, especially from a younger generational perspective. One of the main reasons we were able to get young people to vote for President Trump so overwhelmingly this last election was a reminder that President Trump is the peace president, that President Trump is able to broker the impossible peace deals. Look what he did the other day between India and Pakistan. Look at what he did in his first term. And so I do believe that President Trump is uniquely positioned here to stand with our allies, to stand on the side of civilization, but also understand that his voters, they want to return to America first, to stand with what is right and just in the world, but we do not want a potential endless quagmire in the Middle East, and I'm confident President Trump will make sure that does not happen.
Okay, there's a lot.
You've got to be kidding me. President Trump is the peace president. He everything in between Ukraine and Russia is worse than ever. Everything now in the Middle East is worse than ever. You have Iran and Israel at each other's throats, exchanging missiles, and you have protests countrywide over the ICE deportation efforts. You have tomorrow an unprecedented military parade, a show of force, military force, in order to, let's just call it what it is, a big birthday party for the peace president, who's putting his missiles and tanks on display, chewing up the pavement, spending millions of dollars to show everyone how powerful he is. I don't know. Does that strike you as being a peace-loving peace president? Yeah, other people can have other views, I guess, but
I will tell you that in one word.
Yeah.
Peace through strength, right?
Okay.
And there's also strength through peace.
And then there's what?
Strength through peace. So basically, you're just showing strength to oblige peace around you. So,
well,
that's the message I see from that. And strategically, what it means is don't mess with us because we're gonna mess you up, kind of thing.
All right. I don't think this is peace through strength. This is
it's
saber
a
rattling.
This
is
oh yeah, it's a dangerous
standing. It's it's sort of all the negative American cliches that he is putting out front and on full display for the world, and in the course of attacking all of the entire world with tariffs, and he's at war with the world, this guy, and I don't think he realizes how much people really just don't like him all over the world. So aside from the support that he has at home, which is eroding because of all of these actions he's taking, he's just not a popular guy. So he has to project strength in order to maintain control. But history has shown that people who do that generally,
I think
it only lasts so long.
I think there's a part of it that it's not only control, but it's a part of respect. If you show that you're the big man, nobody will disrespect you. So I think this is what it is. And also, Trump has always been a showman. He always been the guy that you got to put in the front of the camera because he's Mr. Dollar Man. So, yeah.
Here's Russia news. I don't know what they're doing. It's kind of a propaganda, I guess, account on X.
וואי, כמה, זה לא נפילות?
נפילות, אבא, זה נפילות.
Yeah. Trump's their guy. Former CIA Director Mike Pompeo warns that a major incident could occur somewhere in the world and suggests Iran may be behind it. Well, let's hear what Mike Pompeo has.
Careful who you were around in terms of large events, Jewish events. I mean, this sounds like we've gone backwards decades in terms of the threat on Jewish lives. But that's exactly what this is also about.
Harris, I actually think it's just the converse of that. I do agree this could be a very high tension, stressful, and indeed there may be an event somewhere in the world. It's not just the missiles or drones they'll fly to Israel, but the Iranian IRGC, the very leadership the Israelis destroyed last night, has been working in nearly every country around the world, including the United States of America, to plant little terror cells all across the world. Hezbollah was doing the same. So this will be a very difficult period. But in the end, this was not a reckless attack, but indeed what they did was decent and just and righteous, and will reduce risk to the Jewish diaspora around the world. And for Israel and for the United States of America, a really good set of outcomes are in the offing, so long as Israel is prepared to finish the task, and as long as the world unites to provide continued deterrence and defense to prevent Iran from conducting all kinds of attacks. I think of cyber threats that will probably be projected around the world too. Iranians have a great cyber program. So lots of vectors for them to respond. We all need to be alert and responsive and do everything we can to deter them from coming after any American, anywhere, in any field.
Careful.
So I think this complicates everything, not just in the Middle East, but just overall geopolitically. I think it complicates everything in Iran. I think it complicates everything in the Middle East. I think it complicates everything in Ukraine. It complicates relations between Russia and the US and the West because of the way the alliances are all laid out right now. You have, Iran aligned with Russia. You have Trump trying to back away from Ukraine, but Ukraine is aligned with Israel. You have that cross alliance, and then Israel's dependence on and strong ties to America sort of pushes Trump back more into the Ukraine camp, even though he has been trying to, I would say, disengage and he's been trying to strengthen relations with Russia. And so this attack by Israel against Russia's ally, Iran, complicates things in ways that most people are just not aware of. So keep your eye on this, man. This is going to have impact ramifications that go beyond the Middle East.
I will say that, and it's rare that I make comment on the price of gas, but it might rise up.
And I wonder sometimes if this stuff is even real that we're seeing. Here, look at this video.
Well,
I think that's AI. I don't think that's real footage. That's terrible, isn't it? When you don't know if it's real.
Yeah. Well, I got probably to check this one out and make some use some tool here and there to see if there's some real in there, or
even just the protests in the U.S. I guess James Woods has been called out for repurposing video and making posts to make it look like the protests are worse than they really are. Here's a direct hit on the Iron Dome in Tel Aviv. This is, again, a pro-Russian X account, Sprinter Observer.
זה היציאה, עדי. וואי, זה נראה כמו זיקוקים. וואו, איזה יופי. אמא, לב, אמא. וואו. מה זה? זה היציאה, עדי.
It looks like it could be real. The other one.
this one looks more real than the two others, but yeah.
I think this looks more real.
It's hard to tell.
Oh. Protest in Egypt over Gaza. And this looks like it's probably real. I'd say this has confidence is high on this.
Listen, فكر, listen. طلعوا. يا الله.
And don't know. Let's take a look at this. No, this is not there. This is old footage. That's the attack in Iraq from a long time ago. See, this is terrible. People are scrolling through, and you don't know if what you're seeing is real. That's where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays you got to click on every image or every footage, go on whatever tool you got and try to find out from that if it's a real or not, or if it was repurposed. It's crazy.
So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with tonight. And, the whole international community is really on edge because of this. The United States, as I say, key ally of Israel, confirmed its military did assist in intercepting Iranian missiles, but has not directly participated in the strikes on Iran. At least that's the word coming from the U.S. And President Trump, in a statement to Reuters, said he was aware of Israel's plans in advance and still sees room for nuclear negotiations with Iran, although I doubt that that's going to happen now. I think those talks are over, but we'll see. Talks scheduled for this weekend in Oman are now in doubt. And Russian President Putin condemned the Israeli strikes and urged both sides to pursue diplomacy, warning of risks to regional stability. This escalation has sent shockwaves through global markets, too. Crude oil prices surged as much as 13% today, with concerns mounting of potential disruptions to shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, a critical route for 20% of global oil flows. Stock markets were down, while shares of defense contractors, Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, and others rose sharply today. So as this situation develops, both Israel and Iran are bracing for further conflict. Israel's military says it's continuing to target missile launchers in Iran, while Tehran's air defenses were active throughout the day, repelling new Israeli airstrikes, and the United Nations has called for restraint, warning that attacks on nuclear facilities could have catastrophic consequences for the region. I can tell you this, I am grateful that the carbon tax was cut heading into the Canadian election, because gasoline right now where I live is currently selling for just over $1.20 per liter. But when Justin Trudeau was in power, we were paying at times close to $1.70. So you have about 45 cents a liter difference. And with the surge in oil prices, we will likely see an increase in the price at the pumps. But even with a 13% jump today, that will not translate into an increase equaling the price we were paying beforehand. So as much as everyone is on Mark Carney's case and suggesting that he is anti-oil, I'm just looking at the price on the sign, and it's still lower. I don't know how long that will remain the case, but thank you for cutting the carbon tax, whether it was a gimmick or fake or whatever. It's pretty real when you go to the pumps right now. So I'll take it, however it happened and for whatever reason.
Yeah,
That's real.
Yeah, it's the reality of today, man. And I mean, it's scary.
Let's see here. Let's go back here. And again, you can join the conversation tonight at 1-647-734-4220. Punch in that PIN number when prompted 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Let's take a little break. We'll come back on the other side and dig into some of the other top news stories of the day. Call in. Join us. Exercise your right to free speech.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So we're back, and again, the number 1-647-734-4220, 1-647-734-4220, PIN number 860-075-764. Hit that pound sign at the end, and then it'll let you into the conference call live right here tonight on Open Line Friday. So, what else do we have going on with this big military parade tomorrow? I saw promos on a couple of networks that will be running live coverage of the military parade during the day. Washington's abuzz as the U.S. Capitol transforms into a stage for one of the largest military parades since the 1991 Gulf War victory celebration. According to NBC, the Washington Post, and others, preparations intensified today with over 6,600 soldiers from all 10 active duty Army divisions arriving in D.C., many housed in federal buildings like the General Services Administration and Agriculture Department. Soldiers were seen rehearsing along Constitution Avenue while tractor trailers and trains delivered heavy equipment, including 28 M1 Abrams tanks, 28 Stryker armored vehicles, and M109 howitzers. The Army Corps of Engineers laid down 1-inch steel plates at 13 key turning points to protect city streets from the 60-ton tanks. Addressing concerns raised by D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser about potential road damage, a legitimate concern. The Army has pledged to cover repair costs estimated at up to $16 million. That's just to repair the roads after the parade, after they chew them up with the tracks from the tracked vehicles. That's a lot of dineros, man.
Yeah, well, it's going to cost a bunch to the taxpayers.
Yeah, it will.
And I mean, like I said, basically it's just going to be for show. And yeah, just showing who's the boss.
What else do we have going on? So I'm not running it live tomorrow. We'll talk about it after everything is over with during our regular broadcast tomorrow. But I'm not going to carry the parade live. It's going to cost, I guess, between $25 and $45 million. The total cost, people can't seem to agree on it. It depends on what you calculate and where the costs are being offloaded, but it's all sparking a lot of controversy. This is supposed to be a celebration of the Army's 250th anniversary, but of course it's timing on Trump's birthday. Coincidence? I think not.
No, I think it's happy birthday party that he's trying to trash out around. But I don't know what to tell you about what I see online. Mostly is, the what I would call the immigrant lives matter is a kind of a name that I call them basically, which is the rioters of LA and others state that is organizing something tomorrow basically, and I don't know if that's going to happen, but I mean there's something here that it doesn't smell good.
Yeah, well, you have a lot of just people with good intent out there protesting at these demonstrations against the ICE immigration raids. But mixed in with those people, you do have some agitators, some bad actors. You've seen looting of stores and cars set on fire. And so you have that as well, which is absolutely wrong. That crosses the line. And then I would say, too, that on the other side, you have Trump calling in the National Guard and the Marines into Los Angeles in a way that is provocative, intentionally stirring things up. So he is not really doing his job properly, in my view, because his paramount concern should be, as with all of the authorities, public safety and stability and trying to bring people together and provide a peaceful, orderly society for everyone where people are not afraid to walk down the street. But that's not what is going on in America right now. Everything, is at a fever pitch, and we are in for one heck of a summer. And I think that we're in for one heck of the next 3.5 years. This is, it is a political war on the streets. Here, I'm going to show you that in a minute. But there was this clip from Kristi Noem. Maybe I see if I can find it here, that really highlighted this for me. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is here. I think this is it. Where she talks about, they're going to liberate the city from the socialists. And I thought, wow, like that's really at the heart of everything here, right? Okay, let's bring it up. I have to make a change here to this. Okay, so I guess that's all right. But I need to get rid of that so you can see the video, because I put that graphic up on the screen. There we go. Let's run this clip. I just think these are the wrong words for the moment.
That this governor and that we are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country. We are not going away. We are staying here to...
Is that real? Did she really say that? The lips are not in sync. I'm going to check that.
Yeah, let me check that out again, just to be sure.
Because that could be. Yeah, she said it. Yeah, there's confirmation all over the place.
Yeah, well, that's Strong's word, I will say. Pretty strong. And at the same time, probably dangerous.
Just to show you, this is a different angle. So again, I think this is terrible that I have to even do this to say, is that clip real? Is this clip real? Here's NBC with their clip of the same thing.
We were conducting a press conference to update everyone on the enforcement actions that are ongoing to bring peace to the city of Los Angeles. And this man burst into the room, started lunging towards...
Oh, that's from yesterday. That's not the clip. But Kristi Noem, here's the headline. MSNBC says the feds are coming to liberate Los Angeles. So I'd say that does appear to be maybe real. I'm still going to check. Just those, to me, it's just, I that's not the proper purpose for your military to use it for a political means. And you're not supposed to be using the Marines against your own people to keep the peace on the streets.
Yeah.
Not against
that's
people.
Another Rubicon I think we have kind of crossed.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, she's quoted here in a number of places. So that clip is real. That's a real thing. She actually said that. You know, because that's the targeting people with the military within your own country in a democracy. It's you're targeting your political opponents with the military. That's what she's saying. That's not what you're supposed to do. Not in a free society. Here's that, and that's not just me, man. That's just part of the. I'll show you that. I have video of the rehearsal that was taking place on the streets of Washington, D.C. Here we go. It gets so complicated trying to put stuff on the screen when we've got the call-in show going. Here's another caller coming in. Here's okay, let's get that, and then we'll do this, and then I'll click on this, and then it should be that. There we go. Now, here's the pictures of. This is the only clip I've seen of the parade rehearsal. I don't know. How do you? Is that you, John, on the line with us now?
Yes, sir, guys. Remember, John.
Are you going to the big parade tomorrow? Are you going to watch it on television?
No, I've had to wait from hell. I just want to call in and give my bromance with my brother Drag on there. We're still good bros there, bro?
Always my brother. How can I not be your brother? We all know the same thing.
Hey guys, Rickster and Dragon, is Elon Musk invited to the birthday party with the famous Trump birthday salute?
I don't know, John.
Nice point, sir.
Hadn't even thought about it.
Dragon, I don't think Elon is invited to Mar-a-Lago anymore. Maybe we're still on the invite list there, Ricks and Dragon.
Well, maybe. Do you really want to go down there? I don't want to cross the border myself. I'm afeared they're going to deport me just for being a Kanakistanian and get shipped out to El Salvador and live the rest of my life in the El Salvadorian gulag.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, but it's a good segue to something that I've seen, I believe, in Journal de Montréal. Basically, that we are a level 1 country to visit from the U.S. From the U.S. government. Basically, they think that we are a level 1 country to visit. So basically, little mild kind of place. It's like basically safe. We're a safe place.
We're not going to throw you in jail for coming here on vacation. Who else
But
is
if
on the
I go
line?
there,
Who just joined us?
It's Isabel.
Isabel.
Hey, where's
Welcome.
the pom-poms for the parade?
I don't know, man. Like, oh,
No pom-poms?
is it just me, or does this seem just inappropriate? Like, this doesn't seem,
Very, very communistic.
yeah, authoritarian, dictator-like, communist. Yeah, I just,
Yeah,
Cuba.
I
it
feel like
feels American.
you know what? We're back into the Cuba crisis of the 76, and basically the role is inversed. Am I right?
The Cuba crisis of what?
The Cuba crisis in the 70s.
Cuba crisis in the 70s?
The
Or
Cuban
probably
Missile
in the
Crisis,
40s,
I
and
think.
I'm mixing up probably with the 40s or the 50s, but around that time.
The Dragon, the biggest crisis we had in the 1970s was disco.
Oh, come on. Eat your heart out,
No,
Donna.
I'm
not only the
Gloria.
disco.
Look, do you know how
You
many
had also-
ankles were broken in the 1970s because of those platform shoes? Do you have any idea?
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
All right,
Yeah,
you got me
had-
there. But hey,
you had
don't
platform shoes and bell-bottom pants.
Oh,
Are you forgetting the history of the music? I mean, look, at the same time, you had also the revolution of the English music that was basically like a boom, right? You had basically the Beatles, you had Pink Floyd, you had Supertramp
Herman
or
Hermit.
Roger Hudson from his name, G. True Tall, name it.
Wasn't Herman Hermit's English and the Dave Clark Five?
Good question.
I don't know, but you know,
Yeah,
do you want to know what my mom did to me when I was in the 1970s?
Oh, God, Rick, is this another mom story?
Oh, it's a mom story. It's a me story too. This is not me. Okay. I'm going to show you a picture. I just found it online, but I'm going to show you what my mom did to me for my grade 8 graduation. Are you ready?
Are you showing us a picture?
I'm going to show you a picture.
I'm
This
there.
is not me. I'm going to show you
I'm going to buckle my seatbelt.
I'm going to show you
I'm going to buckle my
I'm going to
seatbelt.
show you what she bought me to wear to my grade 8 graduation in the 1970s. I looked like that.
Buckle your seatbelt, Isabel.
A powder blue suit to wear
but
to
that
my
was
grade
the
8
rage.
graduation in the 70s. What's that?
That was my son wanted for his grade 8. He's, I guess, maybe a few years younger than you. He's 51.
Okay.
He wanted a silver suit with a pink shirt with a gray leather tie.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yep.
What a mix.
What a mix.
And I had platform shoes. And don't tell my wife.
Rick,
I'm gonna oops, hang on.
Rick, it looks like you're from the Hudson Bay catalog, bro.
In my
Page number 29.
Oh man, I'll tell you.
Hudson Bay.
And then there was this girl who took a shine to me, and I got to walk her home. But I was in grade 8, and I was way too shy. She wanted to make out. I was like too scared. Oh yeah. Anyway,
Rick, you're from the Simpson Sears catalog, my friend. Simpson Sears, Eaton's debate.
Yeah, I didn't even
my.
kiss her goodnight, man. Yeah, too shy.
Rick.
I know, it's terrible, right? Yeah, so that's the way it is. But you see, it wasn't. But the truth is, she wasn't attracted to me. It was just the suit.
Or it was your cologne.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that's like my brother. My brothers are quite a bit older than me, and my one brother, he had this bottle of English leather cologne.
Oh my God, my dad wore that
on his dresser, and he wrote on it. He wrote on it, "Love potion number 9."
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I was a little kid, and he was older, so he was,
that was a great song though.
Yeah, that was a good song. It was. Yep.
That was an awesome song.
Yeah, and actually, around here tomorrow there are a bunch of car shows on. There's a pretty good one actually, just a short distance from where I sit. It's going to happen tomorrow. A lot of really nice, really high-end classic cars will be there. And I was thinking through the day today, I'd much rather go check out those cars than go to the military parade and see all the weapons of war and the killing machines. I'd rather go check out the cars that, for me, they represent freedom, because they give you the ability to drive around and, go where you want to go, when you want to go, get it, ties the country together. It just to me, a car is a symbol of freedom. The and makeout machines. You get your powder blue suit, you go get your classic car, you pick up your best girl, you head off to
You go to the lookout where nobody's there.
That's right. You watch the submarine races.
You're telling too much stuff, Isabel. You've aged all of us.
Yeah.
We used to go to the lookout in Rockcliffe Park in Ottawa, and you knew you could only go at a certain time because the cops would come around with the flashlight.
Isabel, stop aging us. Oh, man.
Do young
keep
people...
it family friendly, Isabel.
Yeah, but John, they only picked on the cars with the windows that were all fogged up.
Do youngsters still do that these days?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Yes.
It's probably even worse than probably 40 years ago. I'm sure of that.
Why are you saying that with such conviction, John? It's like, yes,
well,
we do.
Actually, Rick and Isabel, Dragon doesn't get these stories because he's a youngster. He's a kid from Dragon, are you a kid from the 80s? We're from the 60s.
No, I'm born in 1980. Exactly.
Oh, you're born in
October.
1980.
Dragon, are you an October guy?
Yeah.
You're
I'm a little
Libra.
Libra.
That was yesterday.
What's your October the what, bro?
Sorry?
October the what, bro? What day?
The 8th of October.
I'm October 2nd. Oh, you're a true Libra, bro. Oh, that's why we get along, Dragon. You're a card-carrying Libra.
That's why we are brother.
Yeah,
and I'm a nasty Cancer.
Oh boy, now we're getting into astrology. But what about astronomy? There's another really cool story out there tonight about the European Space Agency releasing the very first images ever of the South Pole of the Sun. You want to see them?
Yep.
All right, let me see.
Sure.
I had them queued up. Let me see if I can find those pictures of the sun. It won't be too hard for me to find them again anyway here. I'll just...
That's one thing you don't know about Dragon. Dragon is a astronomy amateur. So.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know that.
I'm a bit of a scientist, lady.
Oh. See, I'm just a warped person, Dragon.
No, you're not, Isabel. You are the voice of reason on the worldwide Maverick News family. We need a voice of reason, lady. And you are a lady, and you are the voice of reason.
So...
Well, I don't know where I would fit in today because I identify as a tomboy. So where would I fit today?
So you're seeing the sun, guys. Here it is. Here it is. Seeing the sun for the first time from a whole new angle. From the Solar Orbiter mission, European Space Agency, close-up images of the sun's mysterious poles, regions long hidden from our view. Solar Orbiter gave us our first ever look at the sun's south pole. Let's just make it big so you can see it.
On the middle of the north. Oh. It's cool.
That's pretty awesome,
really
Rickster.
Well done.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can we send Mr. Trump there on a one-way ticket there, Rickster?
Well, I think Elon wants to send him to Mars.
Let's send him here.
Who wants to live on
After
Mars
the
anyway? I
parade.
don't get it.
His color is the same as that picture.
What thing that doesn't make sense to me about the whole Mars mission is if you can terraform Mars, like create the proper atmosphere, if they think they're going to turn Mars into a place that human beings can habitate and survive on, then why don't we just like fix the planet we have?
Yep.
Like, think about it. But no, we have to get off this rock and to go to that one, which is not, you can't survive there. Like you need an enclosed environment, or you need to, you basically need to change the whole environment. Talk about climate change.
So
Man,
you'd be living in consumed tunnels and passageways.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or
what is that
underground.
saying? Earth comes into a disposable unit, so we can't fix it, so we'll just throw it away and we'll go over here.
Yeah, I don't want to live there because going outside would be a chore,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
too much prep.
Yeah, it's bad
I
enough
just
in
want to
the
open
winter.
the door and walk out.
Yeah, bad enough in the winter. You have to get all bundled up, put on your spacesuit, go out to weather the cold weather. No thanks. I'm not into it.
No,
Not
well,
into
there wouldn't be much. You wouldn't be many places you could go on a date if you were covered up in a suit, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Isabel, you couldn't go out to make out point like with steamy windows. A steamy rocket ship.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these protests over the weekend as well in Los Angeles and really cities across the United States.
Yeah, it's getting crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard it's hard to really kind of get a perspective on these things these days, though, because you can't tell what's real, what isn't. James Woods, as I say, one of the, people on the conservative side being accused over the last couple of days of posting misleading videos, repurposing videos to make people think that things are worse than they really are. So I haven't seen those posts. I'm just highlighting the accusations. I think it was Chris Cuomo who was coming down hard on James Woods, accusing him of doing that. So I don't know how serious it is. I don't think it's as bad as you would think if you just are looking at social media, because you have these pockets of unrest, of clashes and store looting and things. So what you're seeing online, of course, as always, is focused on the worst part, right? It's just in that neighborhood or on that street at that time. But everything else, across the city is business as usual. You've just got in central areas, big problems, and just a block here, a block there. And then you have clashes between the protesters, some of the bad actors, some of the criminals, and some of the authorities. So I don't think it's as bad as people might think, but I'm not there, so hard to tell.
Oh, sorry. So Rickster and Isabel Dragon, I got a question for you. If I was president of the United States and I was given a $45 million gift, and I'll pass the question over to Rick, Isabel, and Dragon. If I was president of the United States and given a $45 million gift, you know what I would do with that $45 million? I would be donating that money to homeless people across the United States of America, our veterans, and home care. That's what I would do for my birthday present to the United States of America, not a military. So what would you do, Rickster? And then you, Isabel, and then you, Drag.
Well, I wouldn't have a military parade, period. I don't think that in a free society, a democracy, I think that in order to really maintain peace in the long run and to make the world a better place, you want to use your military as a last resort. You want to use it as a defensive measure and as a deterrent, but you don't want to put it right out in front. And I don't think it's anything to be. I don't think you can honor your veterans and have like a Remembrance Day ceremony and have your veterans and a very reflective ceremony.
Yeah.
Okay, that
No, you so
respectful. That's showing respect
that
for
was
those who have
exactly my
sacrificed,
idea.
right? But but this kind of display, this is aggressive, and I don't think that I don't think it reflects well on a free and democratic democracy. That's my opinion.
No, this is the bully show of strength.
Yep.
You know, while he stands in
Personally,
the
I
corner.
would have give that money to the veterans that is in need on the street.
Yeah.
Yep. Just to the people that need it. I mean, and it's funny because, and I don't want to go on the bird topic, but I had gotten a notification from Jim Care to join or decline, and I keep declining, and I keep blocking it because I'm sick and tired of it. But one of the comments I made on there 2 days ago, and they were asking for donations, and Care came on and everything. Underneath, I put, so all these donations that you're raising and all this money, that's awesome. So you're going to give that to the homeless and the veterans, right? I never got an answer.
Yeah, this is out of the ostrich farm in BC, where the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has ordered that cull of the 398 ostriches that they confirmed the outbreak of the bird flu there. And it's been dragging on for 6 months. And Dragon, I guess everybody wants to talk about this. I can tell you that today, I do have confirmation that that farm, Universal Ostrich Farm, was working for sure with Immune Biosolutions out of Quebec at one point, because I was able to speak to a source at Immune Biosolutions, who shall remain nameless, who did confirm that that did take place. So now beyond that, we'll have more information coming forward in the days ahead. New court documents released today, which coming forward from the CFIA, I believe, as part of their response to this latest attempt to overturn, delay, and ultimately cancel the cull order for that farm. The CFIA, I believe, in their documents, they are presenting evidence from social media posts proving that, or they're proving that the quarantine orders have simply been ignored and violated repeatedly at the farm. As I've been saying, you can see it happening. It's like them thumbing their nose at authority. And and I think a lot of people are confused because they think that this is about people getting sick from the bird flu. That is not really the threat. It's not that people get sick from this. There have been a few cases of a mutated version of this virus jumping to humans. We saw a poultry worker in Ohio get the strain, I guess, that they identified at the farm in BC, and that poultry worker did die. But it's not common at this point for it to transfer to humans. The big concern is that it can spread. And if humans come into contact with the birds, of course, there's that risk to the human on some level. But the greater concern and real threat is that you take that virus away because it gets on your clothing, it can get on your skin, it can get on the wheels of your car, it can get on hard surfaces, it can survive for a long time. And then if you leave and you're contaminated, or if it's on you or you carry it away, then it can spread into the community, spread to other farms, and then it can find its way into other chicken operations where the chickens are very vulnerable. Those are the birds that are most vulnerable and can die en masse, and that inflicts immense suffering on those animals as well, and it puts our food supply at risk. So you've got spread that way. So anybody, in the view of the CFIA, that goes to that farm is violating the quarantine order, and they're part of the problem. And without maybe even realizing it, they're an unwitting part of the problem, because I think a lot of the people going out there, they're being told by the social media influencers on site and the and the protesters and the farm owners, come on out, surround our farm, stop the CFIA. It's safe. These birds are healthy, but there's a very good chance that the birds are still carrying the disease asymptomatically and can be shedding the virus. So without you knowing it, you can be infected, or you can be infected and not know it. You can have it on your skin, on your clothes, on your shoes, walking around in the feces of the birds or whatever. It can get, and you can carry it away. That makes you part of the problem. That's the biggest concern.
But they're having,
and I will say that
barbecues and cotton candy machines, and they're eating near these birds.
Yeah.
So Rick Rimby, can I ask you guys a question? Rick, number one, Isabel and Dragons.
Real quick, because I wanted to make a good point on this one.
Where do you think this is going to go, Rickster, with your investigation with David? Because I think the work you've done, I think you should do a documentary. I think the work you've done is Duesenberg. But where's it going to go, sir? I think you should do a documentary. Dragon, Isabel, what do you think?
Oh, well, we could probably do something like that. What do you think, Rick?
We'll see. I don't know how much attention it really deserves. On one level, I think it has received far too much attention because it shouldn't have come to this, in my view, but it has, because it has been politicized. So it's being forced into the public by the protesters, because the public safety, the issue really surrounding the bird flu outbreak has really been politicized. So it's like any protest, right? You have to gauge how much attention you give it, because as a media outlet, you have to say to yourself, are we being used, exploited? They need the coverage in order to get their message out and to make their political point. So if you continue to cover it, you're playing into what they want. If you don't cover it, maybe you're not doing the public a service, because you're not covering the issue and not covering the news, perhaps. So I'm struggling with how much attention we should really be giving this, because I'm trying to strike that proper balance right now. And we've given it a disproportionate amount of coverage. I didn't want to cover it at all. I was ignoring it in the beginning. And then I've sort of been sucked down into it. And most of the other media that has been covering it has only been giving it lip service, surface coverage, not really digging into the issue, not getting down into the court documents and really looking at the broader issues surrounding it. They're just kind of dealing with it here. And the protesters are really, I think, presenting an unbalanced perspective on it that is being distributed.
Is there any way we could petition the CFIA with the information that we know?
They're aware. They know, Isabel. CFIA knows. Yeah. They've got all this information. So it's not I don't think we need to inform the CFIA of this. The perplexing
even if
thing
we put it as a petition on Facebook and put this information on Facebook and let people read all this.
It's all out there. It is, I'm not the only one working on this. In fact, David's been digging deep, and then there's this other social media influencer on X called Babylon Beaver. And then there's Canuck Law that digs into not just this, but a lot of different legal cases, I guess, and posts legal documents as they become available. So it's all out there. A lot of it is sort of being suppressed because it's just the noise is drowning out the real technical, the detailed information that's coming out is being drowned out by the emotion driven narrative that's being spun up by the farm and the protesters out there, who are really trying to present a political narrative and push a political agenda. That
artful use of speech, persuasive speech. Sorry, the artful use of persuasive speech. Basically, tear up your emotion and your state, on one side or the other, whether you're good with it or not, and basically put you to the radical point where you're too much emotional implicated into the matter. Is that well pointed?
But Dragon Rimby, to me, Rickster, what you have done with David and the other guy calls him, this is way bigger, guys, than just the ostrich farm in Edgewood, BC. This is protecting, to me, the Canadian food system. And it can be vegetables, poultry, chickens, eggs, milk, cheese. I mean, everything you've done, Rick, has been done in such an honest, ethical manner with integrity to protect Canadians, our food system, our entire food system, sir.
Well, listen, let's take a little break. You guys hang in there. We'll come back on the other side, continue the conversation after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We're back. Did we lose one of our callers?
Not me.
I think we maybe lost.
I'm still here.
Yeah, I think John's off. I don't know what happened to him during the break there. Oh, well, that's okay. If anybody else would like to call in, the number is 1-647-734-4220. 1-647-734-4220. Punch the PIN number in when prompted, 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Go ahead, Dragon.
Yeah, sorry. I want to point out something about the guy at Ohio that died from the H5N1. If people want to look it up, and I did found it myself with the NIH and also the FCIA, who speak about it in their reports. Just type on basically the Ohio guy, Ohio avian flu deaths, and you'll see basically reports from that that point out that the same strain was found actually at the farm. So, I mean, Rick is not making anything up. Yeah. And I found that out. And basically, Rick probably also have the information from the email that I gave him.
I've shown the news releases on the U.S. side, confirming that out of Ohio, and then the CFIA also, connecting that same information. So it's two sources, U.S. side and Canadian side. It's not just the CFIA making stuff up. It's not the CFIA lying, as we've seen these repeated claims from the farm. Saying the CFIA is lying to you about everything. I'm not lying to you about that. That's true. And it's coming straight from the U.S. side. So,
Isn't that crazy?
It is, it is crazy. And it makes me really wonder, when I started digging into this, Isabel, which is, I didn't want to, but when I started digging into it, and then I saw the misdirection, and frankly, the lies on the, coming from some of those people out at the farm, and the inconsistent messaging, and the incorrect information coming out, I got very concerned. I don't like that.
Yeah,
It's misleading people, especially when you're donating money, when public safety is in question, when you have the food supply at risk, and you have people saying, we're here to protect the food supply. And meanwhile, they're flaunting the rules.
Yeah.
And,
and there's another thing. Just real quick, just to respect the Muslim people that eat those the halal food, right? They need basically untainted food, right? That's what the religion asks, right? And I say that respectfully for everyone of that faith.
Untainted food? What do you mean untainted food?
Food that is basically halal. Basically, it has to be
food. Yeah. Okay.
So basically, you don't want any compound or any infection in that, right? It needs to be pure. It's
halal food, Dragon. Why are you talking about this? Because Katie indicated that their slaughter method was halal the other night.
Yeah,
is that why?
Back in the day. Yeah, back in the days when they were doing that. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that, it's also a question of respect. Think about it, guys. If someone, because the thing with the Muslim people, what they will do is basically kind of go with the trust of the person that they will buy the meat from. So that's another food system problem, right? So if they're not respected in their faith with someone who's selling something probably, well, on paper look good, but is not, basically it's a disrespectful thing. And it's not only disrespectful to them, but to all of us.
No, I think you're getting it upside down, Dragon.
So my question then, she said she was doing halal.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's not Muslim.
Well, I don't know that. You're making an assumption.
I'm making the assumption. And if she was, then does she have to know how to perform the religion? It's a religious ceremony.
I don't. First of all, there's a lot we don't know.
Right.
From the research,
Dragon, please. Before we dig ourselves into a hole, okay. First of all, I don't know. I asked her to talk about it, and she didn't want to because she was trying, on the one side to spin this narrative and create this idea that they were going to have hunters or people with guns come out and just shoot these birds in the pen and slaughter them right there. It doesn't work. That's not going to happen. There's actually no evidence that is actually true. And I can pretty much guarantee that the CFIA is not going to do that. It's not safe, and that's not the way they euthanize animals. That aside,
I presume they would corral them and euthanize them.
Yeah, they'll expose them to like carbon dioxide to sort of knock them out or whatever, and then maybe cover them with, I don't know. Anyway, that's their problem. They have to come and figure out a way to do it in a humane fashion. That's the law. Yep. That's also the way that they do it. She wanted to talk about shooting the birds and having contract killers come in as they, those are the words they're using out of the farm. But when I asked her how they were slaughtering the birds when they were selling them for food prior to 2020, she said they used halal. And then I went, whoa, I didn't know that. That also raised other questions for me. And then she didn't want to talk about that because she doesn't want people to think about what they were doing. See, that doesn't fit the narrative. So, but here's the thing, Dragon, it's kind of the opposite of what you were saying. The reason likely that they were using halal, and I don't know. Okay. But do you understand what halal slaughter is? Or maybe I can explain.
I know part of it. Basically, is that the animal needs to be slit basically in a non-stressful way.
No. Yes and no. Okay, let me explain. In most slaughterhouses, what they do is they stun the animal. Either they expose it to like gas, like carbon dioxide gas, so it like is semi-conscious or knocked out, and then they slit the throat so they don't feel anything. Or more commonly, they'll use like a gun to like knock it's like a knocker, and it'll stun the bird or the animal. They do it with cattle and other animals as well. So they basically knock the animal out instantly, and then they slit the throat, and they don't feel a thing. But in halal, they don't stun the animal beforehand. So they have a ritual essentially, because it is a religious thing, and they have
there's a prayer.
Yeah, there's a Muslim prayer, or they say Bismillah Allah Akbar. I may be pronouncing it maybe incorrectly because I'm not Muslim. And if I'm getting any of this wrong, people who know can correct me. But essentially, they have to bless the animal and say that this is done in the name of Allah. And in some cases, they have to do it for each animal. In other cases, they can do it for groups of animals at a time for more efficiency at a slaughterhouse. You have to have, an approved Muslim conduct that, and then actually perform the slitting of the throat. But the animal is not stunned beforehand, so they do experience pain for at least a moment. So there are regulations and laws surrounding it. Why was the farm doing halal? Katie didn't tell us why, because she didn't want to talk about it anymore. She wanted to cut that part of the conversation off. And I think that was one of the things ultimately that led to her just ending the interview abruptly. So
what I can tell you from one of the research I've done.
No, Dragon, you talked to me about this earlier today, and I think you're going down the opposite track with it, frankly.
All right.
You're getting way off base with it. See, halal food is labeled. So when you go to the supermarket, when I go here, there's chicken there, and they have chicken to the left that's halal and chicken to the right that is not. I don't buy the chicken that's halal because I don't want it. For me, I'd rather have the bird that was stunned, so that didn't feel anything. So that's my choice, right? But see, you can't sell chicken that was slaughtered conventionally as halal, because that would be against the law. There are laws that protect that religious practice, so you can't do that, and it can't be labeled. You see, and you can't label something halal that isn't halal. But there's no law that says you can't sell halal chicken as non-halal. And so in some cases, slaughterhouses, to reduce costs, will only have one line, and they'll do it all one way. And then it's sort of pushing halal meats into the marketplace that are not labeled as halal. It's just being sold without labeling. And people are just like me. I would go in, for all I know, the two chickens those hot chickens you buy, the roasted chickens, these ones are halal, these ones are not. They might all be halal, but these ones are not labeled halal. And so maybe I'm just feeling better about buying it when in fact it's not that way. So this is controversial, and a lot of it reduces costs. So there's that aspect to it. It also, if you're doing it all one way, then you're satisfying the Muslim market or the halal market, and the other market at the same time. And it's also, for people who care about it, it's pushing it. It's a cultural thing where it's changing the fabric of our culture in Canada. Because it's affecting our food supply in a cultural way that people are not really even aware of. So you're injecting, for lack of a better word, Muslim culture into the production of our food and tradition in a sort of a in a way that is culture creep, if you will, changing the fabric of our society, especially if you're, say, an evangelical Christian and opposed to that sort of thing, then and you find it might even be a violation of your religion as an evangelical Christian. You might take it very seriously. And there are some religions like Orthodox Jews, right? They're not supposed to eat halal chicken.
Right.
Certain members of the Jewish faith. So that's an issue. But because for efficiency reasons, because of the way it's handled here, you're getting culture creep inside the food supply. So a lot of people take offense to it. It doesn't really bother me that much. I just, in my mind, I just would rather not have the halal food because of the way the animal is slaughtered. I'd rather have my animal not feel anything at all than to suffer for even 5 seconds before passing out. See what I'm saying?
Right.
And that creep in that you're talking about, that turns me off because it is creeping in more and more and more. If you go to the grocery store, especially Walmart, and I don't shop at Walmart, but when I did, and I started to see the change in the sections where the chickens and the meat were, I'm like, I would get furious because I'm like, we are catering in our big corporations to one sector.
Mm-hmm.
And the other sectors we're being pushed aside in all directions from everything. We're being pushed aside. And
well,
it's getting to the point where I lose my temper.
It's just the way the system has accommodated the integration of Muslim faith in our communities and our country in a way that allows people, as we always have in Canada, we've allowed people to and encouraged people to retain their culture when they come here. As they become Canadian, they still retain their culture. But I think this is almost unintentional, but it's affecting, it's eroding, chipping away at the Christian culture within the food system in a way that the vast majority of people are not even aware, right?
Well, when I go to the grocery store, if I want to buy my specific British foods, I will go to a British store. And that's the way it's always been. Certain things I like that I used to be able to get at Walmart, or I could get at the Foodland or the No Frills, they're no longer there. But these other types of food are there. So I'm feeling, okay, so you go into the international section, it's gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. You might have one row of international food where you used to have a section. And you could choose from different countries, Jamaica, Poland, Britain, whatever. You could choose up and down that whole aisle. Now you can't. You've got like maybe a 2-foot section. And the rest is like we're being pushed out. And it irritates me. We've always had Asian food stores and Asian markets. And we've always had, specialty stores where these people can go and shop for their different foods. But now it's infiltrated into our food system. And I feel we're losing. It's being done quietly.
On the other hand, when I walk in Montreal, for example, and I don't know for the other big city of Canada, for example, but in Montreal, butcher store, most of them are probably, the casual Quebecer or Canadian staple, basically that would have basically half and a half of it, right? Or probably just basically non-halal. But you got few halal butcher, which is specialized into halal food. And basically most of them are probably people of that faith that have that little store. So they are the best people to give you a good hint on what to do with it if you want to experiment into food because I do love cooking. So I mean, I do experiment a lot. So I mean, I go there sometimes, just to ask. I mean, what do you do with that, and how to prepare it and make some good recipe. So I mean, that's another endy point of the situation.
And I think that's what we've lost. I enjoyed going into the butcher shop and talking to the butcher and getting the butcher to go in the freezer and cut that piece of meat for you and everything. That was directly from the butcher. Now
But
everything
there's still
is
in
packaged.
Montreal. Oh no, in Montreal you still have the good old, Canadian butcher, which, has non-halal stuff that, you go there and ask for the big piece there and they'll do it right in front of you. There's still some cheap places.
The last butcher shop was Meatland in London, and they closed down. And I'm like, damn, now I think it's only, is it Cole, Rick, that's still in London?
Oh, I don't know. I don't live there anymore, right? So.
Yeah, me either. I haven't seen a decent butcher shop unless I go to the abattoir in Mount Bridges.
Mm-hmm. Well, like the kosher meat is, the same issues sort of surrounding that, right?
Yes.
Because they also, they kill the animals by, cutting the throat with a very sharp knife, but they just have different standards. Only certain animals are approved, right? And all the blood has to be removed from the meat. It's a little more strict that way than halal, just different rules, but that's kosher meat. And then there's labeling for that as well. And I believe the symbol for that is COR, COR. So if you see food that's kosher in Canada, like when I was a kid, I had no idea what that was. I'm not Jewish, so I thought that was like a brand or something, right? It's like COR, COR. No, it's to mark kosher food.
When I worked I used to work at Touche Bakery, and when I worked at Touche Bakery, we went into preparing for kosher. And when we prepared for kosher, every 3 weeks, the rabbi would have to come into the plant. There was no wood allowed in the plant. Everything had to be stainless steel. Every cooking instrument you use was stainless steel. It would go into the big ovens, and he would fill all the trays with all the metal utensils, and water was put on the tray, and they were turned up to 400 and ran for half an hour, which meant we couldn't do anything all day. We couldn't cook. So we've got the day off.
Well, with regard he would come in,
and he would have to do a ceremony over that. Same thing when I worked at McCormick's beta plant on Dundas Street. We had the rabbi come in there for the kosher food. And that section was closed off to the rest of the factory.
Yeah. So, and with regard to the ostrich farm, when they were processing food, and we've seen actually that it appears they were actually selling food beyond 2020, but that's a sort of almost a separate issue. But the way they were slaughtering the meat, it surprised me when she said they were using halal method. Especially when they're saying that, they love their animals and they treat them like pets. And then she says that they're slaughtering them using halal. And then I'm like, well, why would you do that? I guess if you're providing the meat specifically to a market that is Muslim focused, okay, I can get that. But then if you're really concerned about the welfare of the animal, to me, you would do the rest. You'd stun the rest and process them that way. But but then see, if you're just interested in profit, then you just pick the one and do it that way. And there's your culture creep, and there's your profit incentive. It's all about efficiency, the money, and that just reinforces for me that these things are not pets. It's livestock, baby. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. It definitely livestock. I mean, and because she didn't focus on that halal, because she jumped off at that time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, you don't want people to know what you were doing.
Because if you slaughter them using halal method, then you can sell some of it to the Muslim community, and then the rest you don't have to label it, and you just sell it to other people who don't know that it was slaughtered that way, who maybe don't care, but maybe they do, but they're just not aware. If you're an evangelical Christian or whatever, or maybe just someone who objects to that method of slaughter, you're not aware. But and again, questions, unanswered questions, and they've offered. I've got a text here saying send any other questions that you have, and we'll maybe answer them. So I'm coming up with a list, I guess, just to see what we end up with. But
yeah,
at this point, I'm not sure how productive the continuing down that road is if they can't answer questions as part of the interview, which, if it had continued, I would have answers to these questions right now. I wouldn't have to be sending a separate email or text.
And when I messaged Jim Kerr, during that first period, one of the questions I asked him on his Facebook post was, where's all the rest of the ostriches? Like, you say 300 and some, but I'm only seeing like a few here and a few there. And his reply was, well, they're in different pens.
Right. But I mean, that's probably going to answer the question for Rick about the fact that Karen went off. Technically, and tell me if I'm wrong, Rick, but a farm that can do the halal slaughter, if I can put it this way, they need to be represent or basically authorized by a Muslim community or priest kind of thing. Oh. So if it's not the case,
well, again, Dragon, we don't know, and there's no point in speculating. And I don't even know if they were slaughtering them on site. More likely, they were sending the animals to an abattoir someplace where this was being done in a slaughter facility. They probably weren't doing it at the farm. And then because I know too that, as far as I know, one of the reasons they pivoted strictly to research was because during the pandemic, a lot of the slaughterhouses were having staffing problems, and there were long backlogs in getting meat processed. They were having trouble getting their meat processed in slaughterhouses and getting it to market. So their business was basically being shut down because the slaughterhouses were not operating at capacity anymore, and there were long delays in just getting the birds slaughtered. So they kind of gave up, is what I'm understanding. But so that tells me that they were sending the birds out to get slaughtered. Were they doing some on site? They might still be doing some on site, because we saw posts on social media indicating that they were taking orders for meat, for ostrich meat, after like last year. Where were those birds being slaughtered? Were they using halal? And then they showed us that picture of the Rebel News image that I showed on here of the ostrich, one of the ostriches that they say was shot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. When I look at that neck, it's that
doesn't look like a bullet. That looks like a knife.
Make your own assessment of that, but that seems to be consistent with,
But see, what I don't understand is these people that are down there right now, that save our birds. Are these people not asking the question? No. When you had a farm and you were slaughtering the birds, how come it was okay for you to slaughter them? I mean, that's what it's called when they go to the butcher house, right? To the abattoir. They're slaughtered. They go to the slaughterhouse. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Are these people not questioning them, saying, well, how come it was okay you slaughtered them now, but now you want to save them? What, they were meat then and now they're experiments? Like, I that would be my question if I was there.
Yeah, that's just, but it's like deny, ignore, don't believe your lying eyes.
Because I'm going to cry if you ask me too many questions.
Yes, and that's what happens. So,
yeah,
I don't know what else to tell you.
You know what, guys? It's a good thing because we're Friday 13th, so buckle up.
I almost got to go with my son today, but I had an appointment. I couldn't go. I was going to jump on the back of his 1200 Harley. Yep, I still have my helmet, my fringe jacket, and my chaps, and I was ready to go. Dang.
Well, heck. So you know what this, this whole ostrich thing, you know what it's reminded me of for quite some time now is the story of Typhoid Mary that I've brought up, because the biggest danger here is that these birds, these ostriches, are asymptomatic carriers of the bird flu at this point.
Yeah.
And possibly other things too, because they've been messing with their immune systems through this experimentation, the injection of the COVID antigens, the various COVID antigens targeting all the different strains, I guess, of COVID over a 5-year period approximately, plus genetic selective breeding of the birds over about 30 years. For what purpose? I'm not exactly sure. Again, more questions surrounding that. But yeah, last night I showed you research into into immune systems and chickens where it can go wrong. And the Maverick's disease research resulted in chickens that, see, they targeted chickens, and the research was designed to cure the chickens of this Maverick's disease, which is a herpes type virus. They were successful in curing the chickens, but in so doing, they made the birds into sort of like these resilient super carriers of the Maverick's disease virus. So they were killing other birds. They were alive. They were asymptomatic. They got better. But if any other birds came into contact with them, they were killing other birds. And then it started to spread. And so they became a vector for the disease itself, which shows that you have to be really careful when you're messing around with this kind of research. So this is, for me, even though Dr. Stephen Pellick dismissed my questions about it, and I'm actually teeing something up here, Dragon, to show you guys. He dismissed me out of hand, saying, "Oh no, those ostriches couldn't possibly have been the reason those 69 other birds died. All of them, I guess, were new birds recently introduced to the flock. They died. The older birds did not." Which to me is like, well, why do only the new? So they're saying it's because the older birds are immune, and so we need to research those birds to find out, how they can save humanity and save all the birds. And I'm thinking, yeah, but there's this other research, and I didn't have it at my fingertips the other night when we had Dr. Stephen Pellick, who was advocating defending the farm on, who just said, no, that couldn't possibly happen. Well, yes, it can, because I remembered a story about that. And then I went and found the studies I showed you last night. And this can happen. The point is, you don't know what you're getting when you're experimenting. That's the whole point of experimenting. And this to me is like an ostrich, avian, bird version, chicken version of the Typhoid Mary story. So I queued up tonight a video to share the Typhoid Mary story with you. There's a great documentary, by the way, from PBS on a program called Nova, produced back in 2004. I'd like to run that, but it will be copyright, so I can't run that. But I do have, these are two guys. Their names are Silver and Ivor, and they run a channel called the Rediscovery Channel, I believe is what it's called. And they put together this little conversation / sort of a mini documentary. It's a short video explaining what the Typhoid Mary story is all about. Oh, sorry. Here, let me get this back up. There you guys are. Okay, let me bring it up over here. I just wanted to share the story of Typhoid Mary with you guys tonight because this is Friday night. Normally we do the Maverick Midnight Matinee. So I thought what we would do, you guys can join in on this with me. We'll do the Maverick Midnight Matinee now, and we will do two things. We're going to run the Typhoid Mary video with Silver and Ivor and the Rediscovery channel. And then we're going to run a little episode of One Step Beyond as well tonight. So are you guys ready for this? Do you want to see this?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. You know what I'm going to do, though? Just to make it super official and take us a segue and transition into the Maverick Midnight Matinee segment of our program tonight. Here we go with the Maverick Midnight Matinee opener. Then we'll run the video on the other side. Here we go. Okay, Maverick Midnight Matineers. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? This is sort of a documentary conversation, live stream podcast thingy that deals with the Typhoid Mary story.
Welcome to another episode of the Rediscovery channel, where each week myself, Stilger, and my buddy Ivor, we tell each other a story that we may or may not have heard about. And this week it's my turn. And I want to talk to you, Ivor, about somebody called Mary Mellon. You ever heard of Mary Mellon?
No.
If I say Typhoid Mary, does that ring any bells?
Yeah, I've heard of Typhoid Mary before, but okay, wait, let me think. That's a reference. Is that a reference to somebody who is carrying a disease without showing the symptoms? Like,
yeah,
patient zero kind of thing, the first, the source of the outbreak.
Very good. Yeah, you actually hit the nail right on the head. But Typhoid Mary was actually a real person. And she was Mary Mellon. She was born in Cookstown County, Tyrone. In 1869, though, she left Ireland as a teenager. So I imagine she was born like right after the Great Irish Famine, potato famine, which I think ended in 1850. Anyway, she left to find a new life in a new world. And like many Irish people before her and after her, she went to New York. And Mary actually, by the year 1900, so she was actually quite a bit older already at this time. She was a cook working in the houses of wealthy families in and around New York City. And she had this signature dish that was said to be peach ice cream. And she was one of about 2 million Americans at the time that worked in domestic service. And to be a cook was actually a bit of a more privileged position because you actually had, you had some people to boss around.
Yeah, that's nice.
You had some subordinates. Yeah, you were in charge of buying supply and supplies, and you're working in nice households. So she was working in richy households in New York. So she was working for these rich families, actually 7 families, and the last one on Park Avenue. And in every one of them, people fell sick or died. And each time, though, she would just move to a different job and just find work elsewhere. And she had employers in places like Oyster Bay, Fifth Avenue, etc. And the people that would get sick or die, they died of typhoid. I don't know how much you know of typhoid. Maybe I should talk a little bit more about the disease.
Yes. And also for our viewers, also, yeah, because I don't know much about it.
Okay. All right. So apparently there's typhoid and there's typhus. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 different diseases, although they're both bacterial based. The big difference is typhus is spread mostly by bed bugs and fleas. And actually, typhus was actually a big cuss word over here in the Dutch language. We still use it today. We call people a typhus liar, which is basically, hey, somebody who's suffering from typhus. That's like a pretty harsh cuss word, to be honest. Even though the disease has long since left.
So it's considered a vulgarism over there. If you if you say typhus, like is it a reference to the disease or is it a reference to something else?
It's a reference to you having the disease, and I think part of the reasons is that typhus as well as typhoid, it's mostly poorer folk that get it because it's also the living condition. So for typhus, it's the flea. So people that are like now it's like homeless encampments and stuff like that where you'd see it. People that live in really poor conditions, and typhoid had to do with food contamination and water contamination because it's a type of salmonella bacteria, and it's through the excrements that then it gets into water supply and so here are some of the symptoms. So in the first week, the body temperature rises slowly, and then you get a fever. And you get a headache, a cough, a bloody nose, and abdominal pain. You also get a decrease in the number of white blood cells. And then in the second week, the person is often too tired to get up with a high fever, about 40 Celsius, 104 Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. So then classically with a dichrotic pulse, delirium, the patient is often calm, but sometimes becomes agitated. The delirium has led to the typhoid also receiving the nickname nervous fever. Rose spots appear on the lower chest and abdomen in around a third of the patients. There's a lot of more. There's like liver stuff happening. Then in the third week, you can get other complications like intestinal hemorrhaging, intestinal perforation, encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain, respiratory diseases, neuropsychiatric symptoms described as muttering delirium or coma vigil, with picking at bedclothes or imaginary objects, metastatic abscesses, and all kinds of other stuff. That's pretty bad, actually. So I probably shouldn't be laughing.
That's probably why it's a vulgarism. Imagine if you get that, you'd be crapping out blood.
Yeah, but this is typhoid, right? So but like typhoid and typhus were like they're 2 different diseases, and I think typhus is actually much more deadly than typhoid. Typhoid, I think, if it's not treated, the mortality rate is around 10%. So yeah, it's a bacteria, salmonella-like bacteria. There's like a whole group of them. People were moving to the cities. I was actually going to talk about let me not say that. Well, I was going to talk about the industrialization of the world and how people were moving to the cities. You had open sewers, and you had all kinds of disease outbreaks in the 19th century. So
yes, New York City used to be a particularly filthy place. It actually, crap and garbage and piss and even dead animals would be in the streets. There was a group of people that came just to clean it up. The kind of, I forget what they were called, but they used to wear white and on purpose, so they would clean it up and then also not get themselves dirty. That was like part of it. But then the kind of buildings that the workers lived in, especially all these foreign workers, were these disgusting apartments that were overfilled, and you had like people sleeping in the stairwells, and they didn't have any kind of flush. I think, well, I shouldn't say that. They didn't always have plumbing, and so it was a place where a lot of diseases got spread. People lived unsanitary.
Yeah, you'd have open sewages. People just throw their waste outside.
Yeah,
actually,
so
a city nearby where I live was one of the poor cities in the country, and that they had conditions like that all the way up to the 1920s.
Well, Los Angeles is like that right now.
Yeah, but I hear people were working, so that's a difference. So they had people working, and they were like living in 20 people in tiny houses and working with chemicals, because it was like place where they would work a lot of clothing, and they would dye the clothes, and then all the paint would just be thrown into the canals. So the canals would be like poisonous, and they would drink out of it as well. But so the people, everything was industrializing, and people were moving to the cities, but the cities were still pretty much similar to how they were like in the 16th and 17th century. They weren't ready to deal with like millions of people, and that's what like Berlin, for example. I think they went to 4 million people in around 1850. So you had a lot of revolutions and things that were starting at the time as well. Because anyway, things were bad.
Care about like how the regular people lived, like the working class people.
But these were rich people, and they didn't know about typhoid, like, even though but it scared them because they didn't have penicillin yet. That wasn't discovered till like the 1940s, I believe, till much later anyway. So yeah, if you get it, there's a chance you'll die, right? At least you'll get really sick, and then about 10% of the people die. So yeah, this scared them, and it belonged to this other world, the working class world. Actually, the family of one of the victims hired a researcher called George Soper, and he tried to find out like what started this, and they were looking at like these freshwater clams and things like that, and in a way, he came to the conclusion that it had to be Mary. So the problem with Mary is that she had the disease, but she never had any symptoms. And so because of that, she was a carrier of it, and she would actually cook her dishes, but she wasn't very clean. Like, people weren't as conscious as they are nowadays about washing their hands and things like that. Like, you even had people still like in the 1800s, like, you'd have doctors touching dead people and then delivering babies the next day without washing their hands, which again, it's probably not something I should laugh about, because it costs, of course, massive troubles. So yeah, Mary, she had this dish that she would cook, and it was, let me see, it was peach ice cream. That was her signature dish. And had it been anything else, like maybe like some kind of hot plate of I don't know, Irish bacon or whatever, which is weird, by the way. Yeah, I know. I've actually been to Dublin before. It's kind of weird. It's more fatty. But then it would have been fine because she would cook the germs. But this peach ice cream, she wouldn't wash her hands, and then she would touch the ice cream, and because she was carrying the bacteria, people would fall ill.
Yeah.
So
We're
yeah,
just
but
frozen
but she
there.
didn't understand this because this is not something they were used to, and she never thought about it, and she refused to believe that she could be transmitting the disease because she never suffered from it herself.
Yeah.
So they find out that it had to be her, right? And they take like stool samples and stuff, and so they know it's her. And what do you do if somebody's sick and they don't have they're not getting better? There's no way to treat her, or there's no penicillin or anything like that. What do you do? What do you think they did with her?
I imagine they locked her up somewhere.
Yeah. So in 1907, she was exiled to an isolation facility on North Brother Island in the river outside of New York, and which is nowadays an uninhabited bird sanctuary. And in the late 19th century, it was built to house victims of smallpox, and then was eventually used to isolate anyone suffering from a quarantinable disease. I'm not saying that right. Anyway.
Quarantinable.
Yes, that's
I say quarantine.
Yeah. Which is French. So yeah. Anyway.
Slide.
So yeah. So the treatment was probably pretty brutal compared to modern statements, but they really didn't have any other option. And basically she was held in solitary confinement. And then there was this newspaper that kind of took up this story, and basically, let me see if I can find the newspaper. I have it in my notes somewhere. So the newspaper coined the name Typhoid Mary, but the newspaper tycoon Baron Hearst. He would run stories, apparently, which would cause the reader to rise from his seat with a cry of, "Good God!" So, I say, exactly. So he got interested in the newspaper got interested in the story and coined the name Typhoid Mary. But with all the interest and support, it may have actually been Hearst himself paying the legal bills just to get her out. And in the end, she did get out and got her freedom. As long as she never worked as a cook again. So then she tried working like as a laundry maid, etc. But eventually, the money wasn't very good. She was used to having a position of power. So then she got some fake names, and she took a job in, under fake names again as a cook. And eventually she ended up being a cook in the kitchen of a hospital. So, so now, people are dying again, and there's like, we don't know how many people died because of her. It's probably at least 3, but some people say up to 50. But then they caught up to her again in 1915. There was no newspaper campaign anymore, no sympathy. And she was sent back into isolation, and she lived in confinement for 23 years till her death in 1938, which is actually, I think, right around the time when they invented penicillin.
I think she was 69 when she died. Is it right?
Let me see.
69.
Yeah, does that add up? Could be.
Let's check this here.
So yeah. But see, apparently they offered to remove her gallbladder, although it's not certain if that would have worked. It may
That
have
wouldn't
worked.
made any difference.
She refused. And she lived in confinement for the rest of her years. Apparently, she was a devout Catholic, so she found peace in her religion. And there's also this, so like this now, of course, because of politics, it's now a different story. But there were apparently hundreds of people that were probably carriers of typhoid. It's just because she was working with these rich families that there was like a lot of press coverage for it.
Yeah, because when it's rich people, then and also when it's politicians, then there's a reaction. But if it's regular people, then it stays under the radar.
Yeah, because thousands of people got typhoid in New York at the time, and it wasn't just from Mary; it was from lots of other carriers. But because it wasn't rich people, so it didn't really matter that much. But yeah, that's how the phrase typhoid Mary got coined. So you were exactly right. I had never heard of it before. I was actually going to do a story about the industrialization of Europe. And then I ran into this one. I was like, hey, that's interesting.
I didn't know that it was based on a real person. I thought it was just an expression.
No, definitely a real person. I'll include some pictures of her actually as well, so you can have a look where you can see her being treated and being isolated, and some of the newspaper articles, which are pretty cool. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting story, especially with what's going on nowadays. It's a very different time. You think, but still an interesting discussion for sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah, comparing between now and then, I'd say it's like, one was a real threat, the other is a real noise, I should say.
Well, I mean, 10% is probably a lot worse, and here the answer probably could have been just wash your hands, or actually it would have been don't be a cook, but then again, like I guess I don't know why she went back to cooking. It's probably
she probably wasn't really washing her hands that well, or maybe just like running them under the water a little bit, but not using soap. Like
maybe not even. So
no, maybe not even that. Yeah, actually, today, the sanitation is pretty disgusting. Like in the United States, I heard most people, they wear their shoes when they go into their house and when they go into somebody else's house. And when you do that, you bring in all sorts of microorganisms and other things. Like if you're in the bathroom, standing in front of the toilet, and you know what's on the ground in front of that toilet, then you walk into your house, it's also in your house. And I heard that, I don't remember what the exact number is. I want to say like 70%. I know it's more than half, but basically more than half of the men all across the country do not wash their hands after going to the bathroom. So when you shake hands with somebody,
I always wash my hands, but I can attest that I go to like hotels and stuff for my work, like for conventions and stuff. And then I wash my hands and I see guys just walking out, out of the booth and nothing. I'm pretty sure they were like taking a shit or something because they're coming from a booth. So pretty gross, dude.
That's why I don't like to shake hands, and
but then again, I guess it builds up your immune system. So, but yeah, you never know.
Typhoid fever.
Yeah, it still exists today, by the way, in places like India and other places in the world.
I got pretty jacked up when I went to India. I gotta say.
And maybe you got the typhoid as well.
I got something, man. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
On the toilet.
So yeah, that was my story of this week. So if you don't want to get typhoid disease, like, share, and subscribe.
Wash your hands after you go to the bathroom, especially if you're going to shake hands with one of us, because we wash our hands, you know.
Yeah.
You should too.
For sure. Yeah.
Yes, and when you look around the camp settlement and how they're left in disarray and they just destroy the property that they're on, this poses another health issue. Remembrance Day. Yeah. Yeah, 9/11. There's a lot of things that focus around that same date. It's scary.
Can I tell something here? I don't like coincidence.
No. Yeah.
Well, it's Friday 13. What do you expect?
Oh, you're so optimistic, Dragon.
No, I'm just dragon. I'm wise.
Oh. Oh my.
In its way. Well,
And no, go ahead, Dragon.
well, you know what's scaring me with all what you have, well, said earlier, and mostly with the COVIDs or the coronavirus that was basically attempted to be uh, experiment on those ostriches. To me, it's a blatant um, manipulation and probably a bad situation where you can get a mutation at some point. And yeah, it's scary because it's getting basically typhoid Mary scary.
Yeah, because we don't know what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
I mean, these are like Frankenbirds. Yep. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Oh, Rick, hold on. I think we're muted.
I'm muted. I didn't put this back up. Sorry. I'm back. Nobody could hear me.
I can hear you.
I can hear you. The people on watching couldn't hear us.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what's going on. All right, let me backtrack.
I got you
Isn't
covered,
it weird? Since I said this, but nobody can hear me. Isn't it weird that Mary Mallon died on November 11th, 1938? What was that? 9/11.
Yep.
Pretty weird. What else did I say that people couldn't hear? Well, it's just all we don't know what's going on with those birds out in Edgewood in BC. It is a risk,
Yeah.
and asymptomatic carriage is an issue, spreading the disease, not to people, but to other farms and to other
Yeah.
birds. And it's putting our food supply. That's what's putting our food supply at risk, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't
Yes.
want,
I mean,
yeah, go ahead, Isabel.
It common sense. Okay, common sense. If there's an
Right.
animal that's sick and you can treat it somehow, you do. If you can't, then euthanasia. I mean, and like you're saying, this is going to spread and spread and spread and spread. If you don't take the group that you know has had it and call them, then that's just going to multiply and multiply and multiply.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to be no further ahead.
And there's just so many other aspects to the issue that people are not considering when they're just jacked up emotionally and they're, don't kill the birds.
Yeah.
Well, it's like these farms, if you just let the disease rip through the flocks, then you have to wait for the disease to work their way through, and then the birds die off, and you're not going to intervene, and you're constantly in there for about a week as the birds die a horrific death with swollen brains and internal bleeding and suffocating to death, slowly suffering. And then as that kind of tapers off and you kind of get to the end and you lose 80, 90% of your flock or better, maybe even all of it, Then you have to go about the process of sanitizing everything, then repopulating your flock, bringing in new chickens, and it delays everything. But if you're able to kind of go in as well, just from a business perspective, right? And just humanely kill the birds off, it's more humane because they don't suffer. They don't have to go through all the suffering of dying a slow, painful death, bleeding out internally. And then just clean everything, sanitize everything, and bring in new birds and deal with the damage, move on, repopulate, get kickstarted again, and then maybe you can save your farm. But if you're lingering there and it's dragging on and you're dealing with the illness and the virus is still present for many weeks and you're not producing anything unless you're shoving them into the food supply.
Yep.
People being aware.
Yeah. I mean, and their only cry right now, all I hear is we're going to lose all this money. We're going to lose all this. That's what I hear from this farm. It's not, say what you want. These are not pets. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
They're not pets. They literally destroyed her sweater that day on the video. And then you see this other woman that shows you exactly what hers is doing to her, and her bird's called Karen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we showed that the other night. That was a vicious bird, wasn't it?
And that's perfect name for that bird. It was a Karen already.
That was pretty funny. That was funny.
I'm thinking, and you want to cuddle up to that? No. I presume, from what I saw on the video of the farm out there, when you watched the ostrich grabbing her sweater, I presume they've got like little razor teeth on their beak.
Those ostriches, though, they're really powerful. So,
oh yeah,
and they can be mean as heck.
Yep.
Well,
I've watched documentaries from Africa about their ostriches, right? And they come at you with those wings, and the guys have said even in the sanctuaries where they're taken into maybe a broken leg or something, and the guy's like, those wings will break a bone.
Yeah.
Regardless of what their claws are going to do to you.
Fun fact, okay, about the ostriches. I'm going to tell you something. Did you know that ostriches are like one of the oldest freaking bird on Earth that has not basically almost evolved since Criterian era? So, I mean, guys, they're old. It's a whole species.
Oh, they're prehistoric, all right.
Yep. That's true.
No doubt
That's
about
true.
it.
I'm gonna give that fact to everyone. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're prehistoric.
Kind of like me.
They're like us, old fossils.
Yeah. Well, are you guys ready for our real feature presentation tonight?
Well, of course.
Yeah, this is One Step Beyond, and which we've run a number of these episodes, which I really like. And tonight's episode of One Step Beyond is Brainwave. So let's cue it up. Here we go. And we'll share this together.
Have you ever been certain your telephone would ring in the next 10 seconds? Or have you ever walked down a strange street and had the feeling that you knew what lay beyond the unturned corner? Yes?
And I have to
Then
jump
you've had
off
a brief
YouTube, by the
encounter
way.
with the world of the unknown.
Content.
You are ready for the actual
So if you're
human
watching on
experience that
YouTube,
follows.
you got to jump over to Rumble.
Alcoa presents a new and unusual kind of television program that takes you just beyond the world in which you live. Alcoa presents Aluminum, from the world's leading